Hi and welcome everyone. This is the Hobo Prepper and I am Friar Tuck. Thank you for joining me, guys. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today, and this applies to you whether you're in SHTF, whether you're bugging out, whether you're urban, whether you're doing it rural, or whether you're bugging out in a bush. These 5 tips to being homeless, will help you navigate regardless of what situation you're in. These 5 tips, they're designed to help you to better navigate being homeless should you get caught up in the great dispossession, should you get caught up in something that, puts you in the same situation where I and many others in this country are. Because you got to realize that every time rent goes up by $100, homelessness increases by 9%. And so the first tip that I'd like to give you is, do not congregate in groups. Do not camp in groups. You have to be careful of the groups in which you get involved with. If you watched the video yesterday, I kind of explained to you one of the primary reasons why you don't want to get involved in groups. Now, you can start your own group, and I would strongly recommend that if you feel the need to congregate in group, because there is safety in numbers. But it's only safety if you've got the right people around you. So for example, if you are like me, I don't do drugs, I don't drink, I smoke my cigarettes, and that's it, right? Well, with that being said, I want to congregate around people that don't do all those things, because the people that do those things are volatile. I'm not part of that lifestyle. I don't understand it, and it does not work for me. And the same thing may go for you. If you like to drink, then maybe you want to have people around you that are like-minded. Again, like attracts alike. So it is important that you shy away from congregating in groups, and it will also affect you when dealing with the police, the city, the government, because when they see large groups, that's usually when they start trying to break them up, because that's usually when things start going south. They lose control of the group, and smaller groups are safe, in some sense, but large groups can also be safe. I know it's a contradiction in some ways, but this is something that you're going to have to find that happy balance for on yourself. But which leads me to my second tip. You need to really be careful of the people in which you congregate around. Now, me, traditionally, whenever I go out and I'm homeless, I will probably pick up a road dog on the way. Usually I spend about a week or two vetting people, looking at who I can connect with, who I want to work around, so on and so forth. But still, that, when you're a guy out here that just at worst you smoke your weed and you don't do anything else, well, all these guys out here are doing much harder drugs, or they are or they're alcoholics, and either way, those guys are going to start creating issues, especially if you have a road dog. You need to make sure that you're finding somebody that's dependable and reliable, that you can count on. They're going to be flakes, they're going to be having issues and things like that. But it's important that you're very picky and very choosy about the people that you allow around you. 1, and 2, you also really need to make sure that you're cautious. The wrong person could be your personal demise. The wrong person could be a lot of things that could go wrong for you. Okay, the third thing that I want to talk about, this is the third tip, is you have to be mobile. And being mobile means that you have to have light bags. 1 bag per person is generally the way I do it. Usually if I'm doing urban and I'm doing the urban environment, I usually have a backpack. But you guys know that I started off on a bike packing trip, and it evolved into what you guys see today. And traveling light, being able to carry all of your stuff in one trip is important for a couple of reasons. If you are urban camping, the police may push you along. If you are camping out in the woods, the police may come by and tell you you're trespassing, so you either pack up your stuff or you're going to jail. At least here in Gainesville, they're fairly nice about it. They're not like other places like Eugene, where they come by and they will just automatically take you to jail. So you need to be able to have your stuff to be able to get up and get moving. And so that means that you need to have some sort of of systems set up. Okay, and this also, as far as the gear goes and being able to travel light, another thing, you're going to need to make sure that you're highly organized, because you need to know where everything is at a moment's notice. You need to put it back when you're done, because that way you know where it's at. Because one of the things that I always do is I will pack everything up, and then I will probably walk about 50 feet, and then I'll sit there and I'll go through my stuff and do a second inventory just to make sure that I didn't leave anything behind. Even though I went back, I did a second look, so on and so forth, because sometimes you may have trouble getting stuff replaced that you lost. So, for example, my cook set, being in a group and having to do a quick move, everybody just started grabbing everything. I wasn't able to grab my stuff in time. Now I'm missing a couple of things out of my gear, and right now it doesn't affect me, but if I had to get back on the road, I'm a pot short, and I can't remember the other thing that I'm missing, but I'm missing some stuff that I shouldn't be missing, because I should have been keeping inventory. But again, when you get into large groups, sometimes things like this happen. Okay, so that is tip number 3. Tip number 4 is you need to really be prepared that all of your plans are always going to go awry. For example, I was planning on Monday to go down and to go down to City Hall, but because what happened, getting the knife pulled on me, and then the other drama that was happening, it really put me into a situation where, with the 2 ladies that I am working with, I needed to make sure to set us up a campsite that was alone. We're by ourselves, so that we can keep the drama and the dumb stuff, because every time we get involved with anybody or invite anybody, it has really not turned out well. Usually I'm a pretty good judge of character, but again, this is foreign to me as far as traveling in any type of groups, because I keep to myself. But you have to be prepared for things to go awry, for your plans to get kind of shot. And another thing that you really should consider as part of this tip number 4 is that it takes a long time. So, for example, we wake up at 6:30. I get the ladies. I tell them, okay, you got 30 minutes until we leave for breakfast, because it's like about a 15-minute walk. We want to get there in line so we get a decent place so we can actually get some decent food. So from 6:30 to about 8:30, we're on the go, and that's just to take care of breakfast. Now, if you're housed up, you wake up, you got 15 minutes for breakfast, you pour yourself some cereal, you eat, you're out the door, your stuff's protected. Another thing is that while we're going and we're making sure to keep our electronics charged and keep other things, that we need, such as getting our laundry done and things like that, that takes time. There's 5 washers, but only one of them works. There's 5 dryers, but only 3 of them work. And so therefore you may be stuck all day waiting for everything to kind of get done with, so that you can get your basics taken care of. And so it becomes a balancing cycle between getting the things done that you need to get done, and then being able to have time to go out there and to get the things done that are actually going to better your life. So, for example, because I haven't really had a lot of time to go out there and look for work or to do anything, I have been making calls off of Craigslist, sending emails, and going for the jobs that I know that I qualify for, because I know I'm going to be here a while, so I need to be able to have something. And plus, making sure that these ladies get up on their feet and get into a house, there's a lot that's going on there. And so I feel the need to, I'm going to keep working on the YouTube channel, yes, of course. And if you guys want to make a donation through my tip jar, that's great, fantastic. It helps offset a lot of the things that is causing me to backtrack, because if I was just by myself without being with a group, I would be able to get a lot more done, because I'm a lot more organized, and I know kind of how to keep moving, keep my head down, not congregate with people, not get into groups and things like this. And with my time getting eaten up doing all these other things, I'm having to figure out alternatives. And this is something that you're going to have to do, because a lot of you that will be bugging out, regardless of what happens, you will probably be in a family setting. And if your whole family goes outside, you're going to be, a lot of it is going to be doing the upkeep, making sure to keep somebody at camp. So that means out of the three of us, somebody has to be here at camp. They need to be able to have the weapons necessary to defend themselves and camp should somebody come through and think that they can do a bull rush. There's all kinds of things that can happen. So you're stuck on worrying about security while trying to be able to have a static spot so that you don't have to keep moving. That comes with its own issues. And I hope that this is understandable for you guys. And when you get into the situation, should you ever get into that situation, this is something that you should you will understand more than you will now. This is kind of like a preliminary, the theory, the theology behind it, so that you guys can understand what really goes on in the day of a homeless person. So you get stuck just kind of spinning your wheels, and some days you're productive, other days you're not. Some days you just got to figure out alternative ways to get done the things that you need to get done. Okay, and then the last and final tip. Okay, guys, number 5 is that you need to stay away from the shelters, and you need to stay away from the mass congregation of homeless. Okay, so for example, I am at Grace Marketplace. These two ladies, one's disabled, the other one's disabled but doesn't get a check, and so with them, they're not able to travel very far because their disabilities are physical and mental, but mostly physical. And being able to travel is important because you don't want to be stuck around the homeless shelter, because that's where all the trouble is going to happen. That's where the hobos are able to congregate, and nobody's really watching them because everybody wants to watch them out in the main city. And so that plays into your own security, especially if you're a square like me. At least out here in this world, I am a square. And so when you're dealing with these other hobos, sometimes you kind of want society itself as a whole to keep an eye on you. So being out in the commercial sector of town, there's going to be enough of a police presence to be able to keep you safe until we have a breakdown of rule of law. But you don't have to deal with, like here at the marketplace, you got to deal with gangs and all these guys getting out of prison. They send them here, and they either put them in a halfway house, and then after the halfway house they come here, or vice versa. Sometimes they generally end up here at some point after they get out of prison, and that is in its own thing, because in the gangs they have in the prisons they have gangs, and these gangs, now in order for them to survive, they have to be able to stay with it. So it's like they left a confined prison to be in a controlled prison, where this area is controlled by the gangs and so on and so forth, just like in prison. And this is something that I think most people think, oh, well, I need to be close to food, I need to be close to the services, I need to be able to close to that. What most people don't realize is that they actually stagger the services out throughout the city, because the smart ones are usually the ones that stay away from the shelters, that don't hang around all the homeless, they kind of keep to themselves and keep out. So staying near the shelter is never really a good idea, and that's part of the reason why I have the security issues and the paranoia that I do, is because we're too close to everybody that is in the shelters, especially the ones that hang around the shelters, unless they're in a gang, and they're doing the regulation and they're selling their stuff and doing what the gangs do. They also, you got to realize that these people are the broken of the broken, and this is the one area where they can kind of let loose and be who they are, because the shelter in some ways is responsible for what goes on around it. Therefore, alleviating the police to be able to hang out in the other parts of town. They only come here when the shelter calls them and says, okay, we need you to come take somebody off for a trespass, or we've got violence happening here, we need to have this taken away. And I will tell you that they've kind of started to try and clean this place up a little bit, and I'm wondering if it's because of some of the comments that I've made, especially about homeless. I mean, you got new homeless coming, and they're going to say, go here. And most people, being naive, not understanding what's going on, are going to come here, and then they get brought into the whole circle of crap that goes on here. And at the end of that, then they just add to the problem. But these people didn't come out, didn't have that issue, but through circumstance and through the environment, they're brought into being what you would consider part of the drug crowd, part of the people that are, they're so hooked on drugs that they're probably never going to get off, and they're probably going to die from it. And it makes it look like the homeless population is not increasing, because all these new people are doing is they're coming out and they're replacing all these guys that OD. And there's a couple of ODs every day here, and there's been several murders here. And because again, congregating around all these broken people, you're gonna have issues, and especially like with what I told you about in the video yesterday. So with that being said, guys, that is the video for today. If you would like to help support this channel, you could like, subscribe, share. I could definitely use the views. I could definitely use the subscribers. I need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours in order to monetize this channel, so that I can use it as one of my many forms of income. If you are curious about the gear, I could tell you that the sleeping bag and the tent and the sleeping pad, well, the sleeping pad, I would probably go with a different sleeping pad, but having a sleeping pad is important, especially being out here, because we're laying on sticks and stuff like that. Having that cushion there to kind of keep you to keep you give you an okay night's sleep, so that you don't wake up with sore ribs and sore hips. That is something that I would strongly recommend, whether you're doing it urban, or you're doing it in the bush, or you're doing it anywhere in between. You're gonna want that. And I could tell you, it really benefited me until it popped, of course, but I don't know why it happened, and I was never able to find the hole. But I was trying to patch it up, but I just didn't have the facilities to be able to patch it up. So that's something that you're going to have to really consider. But a mattress pad is important if you want to be able to maintain a good night's sleep, because that's going to be the difference between your sanity and your insanity out here, is a good night's sleep. Now, you can deal with sleep deprivation for short periods of time, but then your body's going to crash, and you're gonna want to you're just gonna want to sleep, and then that may put you in a predicament. So it's important that when you're out here, especially if you're bugging out, that your sleep gear needs to be where you put most of your effort, because that's what's going to help you keep your sanity. As far as the saddlebags are great. Just don't overstuff them like I did, and you won't have an issue. Make sure and keep track of your stuff so you don't lose it. Again, these are things I'm repeating on. But anyways, guys, you could, like I said, you could do the tip jar, you could do like, subscribe, share, or you could go through my affiliate links. Any of these will contribute to the channel in one form or fashion, whether it be pushing me to my end goal of being monetized, or whether it be me getting a commission, or you guys just leaving a tip because you think that this information is valuable. And so I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being my friend.